Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Kara Gray, who is a radio dispatcher with the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Well, Kara, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, we always try to go through different divisions to see what your job is like and how you help us here in Orange County. And so I'm really excited to hear all about your job. And, you know, it's good for everybody to know exactly what happens with a 911 call and when to call, when not to call, and that type of thing. So I'm really happy that you could be here to do that. So before we get into some of the nitty gritty of a 911 call, you know, we want to know what it's like for you as a radio dispatcher.
So as a radio dispatcher, you never know what kind of call you will get. We answer non-emergency business line on top of the 911 calls. We have a priority button. So if you hit that priority thinking you're going to get a business line, it could pop over to a 911 that pops up. And we have multitude of different calls that come in, and it could be anything from an abandoned vehicle to somebody not breathing to a family member screaming. Sometimes we do get just screams and then they just disconnect. So you never know what you're going to get. It's a fulfilling job though, because we do help people. You know, that is our primary function, is to be there for the first people that you call when you need help. And, you know, we will always answer the phone.
So, gosh, I could imagine that would be horrifying if you had just a bunch of screams and then all of a sudden it disconnects. I mean, how do you determine whether something is truly an emergency?
It's hard. We try, and that's why we try and ask questions. Sometimes we do get people who just say, just get here. But, you know, officer safety wise and citizen wise, we need to know what is going on. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people scream in anger, people scream, you know, when something horrific is going on. So it's just kind of determining what is happening. And that's why we ask, you know, what is going on? You need to tell us, where are you at? And that is super important, is where are you at? Because at least then we can get somebody to you, even though we don't necessarily know what exactly is happening within that first couple of minutes.
So I always thought that when you called 911 that you were trackable, like the people, you would know where we were.
Sometimes if you call with a landline, which we love that people, you know, citizens in Laguna Woods have landlines, they do utilize them. If it is correct with your phone company, we can automatically see where you're at, what your address is, and what name that the number is under. That is extremely helpful to us. With the age of cell phones, it's become very complicated. We do get a general location, but depending on where you're calling from, the cell towers, we get a Latin long. So by the time we're able to get the Latin long into the system, into Google, get a general area, you know, if you're in the middle of a complex of, you know, thousands of homes, it's very hard to pinpoint exactly where you're at. So with cell phones, especially, at least a street or a cross street, what city you're in, so we can get to you.
Okay, because I would imagine that people probably panic when they call, and so they might not even remember where they live.
Yes, and that is it. Like I said, that's the most important thing, is where you're at, so we can at least get deputies and get paramedics en route to your location.
Okay. Briefly, can you tell me what your most frightening call was?
Yes, I had a Uber driver call in, and he called in on 911. And, you know, as an Uber driver, you don't necessarily know where you're at. And he was in he was in San Juan Capistrano, calling on 911 on Ortega Highway. And we all know how long that street is. Mm-hmm. And I was we do have an update button that helps update the location. But like I said, it's not always accurate. Yeah. And he was screaming, and I could hear the male who was stabbing his vehicle with a knife. So it was very stressful. For us, we also get an adrenaline rush. We feel, you know, we have empathy. We understand what's going on, but we're able to kind of tamper it down while we're answering the phones, which is why sometimes we might come across as a little harsh. We're just trying to help you. We understand that you're in a situation where you're panicked, you don't know what's happening, you're trying to call for help. or trying to just get the information. So that was probably, I could tell he was screaming in fear for his life.
Yeah,
So
that would
that was
be
probably
very,
one of the most memorable ones.
very unnerving, I'm sure. What kind of training do you go through?
So we start with call taking. That is about 10 weeks where you're just on the phones answering 911s, non-emergencies, business lines. And then after that, for a couple of months, usually about a 3-month period, then you go to what we call radio training. And that is when you hear the dispatcher's voice through the radio, talking to the deputies, telling them where to go. As they say, you tell us what to do. So we're dispatching out the calls that the call taker is sending, but you have to have a type of knowledge of who, what, where, when, why, and what is happening and why it constitutes a crime. We deal with crime, in progress and stuff that has already occurred. Mm-hmm. So either way, and that could lead into, when you call 911. So is it occurring now? Yes, call 911. Are you in fear for your life? Yes, call 911. Has it already occurred? Do you see anything around, anything around that's suspicious? No, that's probably more of a non-emergency type of situation where you would call in.
Well, right. And you also mentioned that you take calls from accidents. So I'm on the freeway, and I mean, that would be the first thing I would do is call 911, primarily because you don't know what the situation is. All you know is that you see maybe someone in a car, they've been in an accident, so you don't know if they're hurt or not. So would that be appropriate to call 911 because you don't know what else to do?
Yes, unless you're involved, and we will ask, the person who is calling, are you involved? No, okay, because we don't know the status of that driver's, of if they're injured or not. Right. A lot of times, definitely car accidents, especially if you're not involved, like I said, are 911 appropriate. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people don't realize is we'll answer, 911, what is your emergency? We obviously don't say our agency. So a lot of times the highway patrol might get something that is a Orange County Sheriff's Department call, and we will get something that is for the freeway. So then we would say, please hold on, we need to transfer you to the highway patrol. And we would, automatically hit that button. It might ring a few times and then they'll come on and take over.
So at what point then do you transfer calls to the fire department?
That is a great question, especially for Laguna Woods. We transfer them immediately. If we only go if there is a threat to the fire department or the informant who's calling, or if somebody is not breathing. Mm. So if you call 911, please tell us if you need the police or the paramedics. If you do need the paramedics, we will immediately hit that button to transfer them. If somebody is not breathing, just know that we are staying on the line to confirm that somebody is breathing, and then we will disconnect. If they are not, we're getting that information because the fire department can only go so fast with their large trucks and ambulances, whereas in a vehicle, the deputies can get there a lot quicker and usually do to start CPR before the ambulance gets there.
Oh, I see. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily. So wait, back up just a bit on the fire department one. So if I call 911 and it is for someone not breathing, you send an officer first and then the fire department?
So it kind of depends on the call. If somebody immediately says they're not breathing, I'm going to quickly get the address. And then while I'm getting the address after that, I say, okay, let me get the paramedics in line with us. Don't hang up. Okay. While the phone is transferring, I'm usually quickly typing up the call, male or female not breathing, and then just sending it over. And then we will let the paramedics take over because they give the CPR instructions. And that is super important that people don't hang up on that transfer because it has happened before. Sure. Whether, they can't hear or, people are in a panic, obviously. It's totally understandable, but please don't hang up if you don't hear something right away because we are just trying to transfer the call to the fire department so they can give those instructions.
Okay. Great information. But now you also said that you type in something. So not only are you on the phone, but now you're typing something and trying to do all these different things. So how many different things are you doing at once?
We are doing quite a bit at once. So just as a call taker answering a 911, we have 3 to 4 screens. Usually our main screen is all of the calls that are going on in the county. We have 2, we call them command lines, and we have, dispatch codes that we put into these command lines. And then as we hit a button on our computers, on our keyboards, on the computer, it pops up and it gives us all the basic information that we need to type in the call. But it still takes time to type things up. So, you know, during that training period of that 10 weeks, if you cannot get a person not breathing or a car accident or something that we consider as a priority one call over within a couple of seconds, within a minute, you know, you typically don't pass because people depend on that for us to get the information over.
Right. So be quick thinking.
Yes. Quick thinking, quick typing.
Yeah.
You know, vice versa. On the radio, we have what's called a foot pedal, and it almost is like a sewing machine foot pedal because our hands need to be free at all times so we can quickly type. So we have a headset where we're talking, typing, and hitting that foot pedal at the same time. So it's very much multitasking.
Good. Sounds like you know, that's kind of like patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same
Yes, that's
time.
exactly
good at
what
that.
it is. With, you know, and if the call taker is yelling information to you as it's coming over, hey, you know, I have a priority one that's going to come over, and the deputies are asking questions, and you know, it's a full team response, but it's very much multitasking.
Do you work long hours?
We do. We work shift work. Wow. So we either work a 10-hour shift or a 12-hour shift.
Oh my gosh, that would be, I mean, you must be exhausted when you go home.
It can be definitely tiring. You know, we are not like the deputies or the fire department where we're out on our feet all day handling calls, but mentally it can be exhausting. You know, we eat at our desks while we're helping the public. We take breaks, you know, for ourselves and to get up and walk around, but mainly we are sitting down answering the phone because somebody has to be here to do so.
Exactly. How many dispatchers are there?
I think there are about 60, 65.
Oh, wow.
And then during a full staff of people, we have 4 different radio channels. Okay. So Laguna Woods is considered yellow 2. And we have one main dispatcher that is dispatching for what we call yellow 2. And it breaks up the cities a little bit. Okay. So because we are such a large county, we have yellow 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a breaker person. And then on the desks, we can have anywhere from 3 to 9 people.
Oh, great. And who is the dedicated dispatcher? Is it change? I guess it
changes. Yeah. So to break up the shift, we usually have about a 6-hour time on the phone, and then you'll go to a radio position typically.
Oh, I see. Okay, good. Well, man, this is awesome. I really appreciate you spending the time with us. It's always good to get the inside look of how you guys work.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. And I just want to briefly say, I understand, you know, everyone, when it comes to emergencies, everyone might have a different opinion of what an emergency is. And we try and get the calls out as quickly as we can. We'll always say, you know, it's a within an hour, depending on life or death emergencies. Right. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer, but we try and get people out to you as quickly as we can.
Well, thank you for all that you do, and thank you for the information.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll be right back after this.